Nathaniel Parker straightened his silk tie and gazed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office. Seattle's skyline glistened after the morning rain, a fitting backdrop for the man whose architectural designs had transformed the city's horizon. At 36, he had everything society deemed valuable professional acclaim, financial security, and a penthouse overlooking Elliott Bay. His assistant's voice crackled over the intercom. "Mr. Parker, there's a Vanessa Reed here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she's quite insistent." The name struck Nathaniel like lightning. His fingers froze on the architectural model he'd been adjusting. "Vanessa Reed?" He repeated, his voice uncharacteristically hollow. "Yes, sir. She says it's urgent and personal." Nathaniel's heart hammered against his ribs. "Send her in, Diane." The door opened, and time seemed to fold in on itself. Vanessa Reed stood before him, not as the carefree 22-year-old art student he'd known 9 years ago, but as a poised woman whose emerald eyes still held the same intensity that had once captivated him. Her auburn hair was shorter now, framing a face that had matured from pretty to striking. "Hello, Nate," she said softly, using the nickname only she had ever called him. Vanessa. Her name felt both foreign and intimately familiar on his tongue. "It's been 9 years, too." "Months," she finished for him. "May we sit down?" "This isn't a social call." He gestured toward the sleek leather chairs across from his desk, noticing how she glanced around his office, taking in the awards, the minimalist decor, the evidence of his success. "You've done well for yourself," she observed, but there was no bitterness in her tone, only a quiet acknowledgment. "I have," he replied, then added more softly, "professionally at least." A beat of silence passed between them, heavy with unspoken history. "Why are you here, Vanessa?" Nathaniel finally asked, his voice steady despite the turmoil beneath. She met his gaze directly. "There's someone you need to meet." Turning toward the door, she called, "Olivia, you can come in now, sweetheart." The door opened again, and a small figure stepped into the office. The girl was perhaps 8 years old, with chestnut hair that fell in waves around a heart-shaped face. She had Vanessa's delicate nose and mouth, but her eyes, those were unmistakably his own, deep blue with that distinctive fleck of gold in the left iris. "This is Olivia," Vanessa said, placing a gentle hand on the child's shoulder. "Your daughter." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Nathaniel gripped the edge of his desk, his knuckles whitening. "My daughter?" The words felt surreal, as if spoken by someone else. Olivia regarded him with curious caution, her small hands clasped before her. "Hello," she said, her voice clear and measured, so like his own careful speech. "Hello, Olivia," he managed, struggling to reconcile this living, breathing child with the fact of her existence. "She knows you're her father," Vanessa explained. "I've never lied to her about that." "Why now?" Nathaniel asked, his gaze moving between mother and daughter. "After all this time, why come to me now?" Vanessa's expression tightened. "Because Olivia has questions I can no longer answer alone. Because she deserves to know you." And she hesitated. "Because we need your help." "Help?" His protective instincts flared instantly, surprising him with their intensity. "Financial, yes, partly," Vanessa admitted, lifting her chin slightly. "But it's more than that. There are complications." Nathaniel noticed, now the tension in her shoulders, the faint shadows beneath her eyes. "What kind of complications?" "Medical ones." Her voice wavered slightly. "Olivia needs specialized testing, treatments that our insurance won't cover. I've exhausted every resource I have." Nathaniel looked at Olivia again, really looked at her, this child who carried his blood, his features. She stood straight, dignified even in her uncertainty, watching the exchange between the adults with intelligent eyes. "May I see your drawings?" Olivia asked suddenly. pointing to the architectural sketches on his desk. The question caught him off guard. "Of course," he replied, sliding a concept sketch toward her. Olivia studied it with an intensity that mirrored his own. "The lines all make sense together," she observed, "like a puzzle that fits perfectly." Something warm and unfamiliar loomed in Nathaniel's chest. "That's exactly right," he said softly. Vanessa watched their interaction, a complex emotion crossing her face. "She has your eye for design. Her teachers say she's exceptionally gifted in spatial reasoning." Nathaniel felt a strange pride intermixed with grief for all the years he'd missed. 9 years of first steps, first words, first everything gone, irretrievable. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked Vanessa, struggling to keep accusation from his tone. Her eyes flashed. "I tried, Nate. I called your office dozens of times that summer. I wrote letters that were returned unopened. Eventually, I got the message." Confusion clouded his features. "I never received any calls or letters from you. After you left for that art program in Florence, it was like you disappeared." A flicker of surprise crossed Vanessa's face. "I never went to Florence. I deferred my admission when I found out I was pregnant." They stared at each other, the first inkling that their separation might not have been what either had believed dawning between them. "Someone didn't want us to find each other," Nathaniel said slowly, his mind racing through possibilities. Vanessa nodded, her expression grave. "And I'm afraid that same someone might be causing our current problems." Olivia moved closer to her. "Mother," sensing the tension. Vanessa automatically wrapped an arm around her, a gesture so natural and protective that it made Nathaniel's throat tighten. "We should continue this conversation elsewhere," he decided, already reaching for his coat. "Diane, clear my schedule for the rest of the day," he called through the intercom. As they walked toward the elevator, Olivia between them, Nathaniel felt the carefully constructed walls of his life beginning to crumble. Yet somehow, amid the ruins, he sensed the foundation of something far more precious taking shape. The rain tapped gently against the windows of Nathaniel's penthouse as Olivia explored the space with curious eyes. Vanessa stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, arms crossed, watching Seattle disappear beneath a blanket of evening fog. "She has your contemplative silence," Nathaniel observed, offering Vanessa a cup of tea. "And your analytical mind," she replied, accepting the cup with a grateful nod. "She categorizes everything: books, rocks, cloud formations. Nothing escapes her notice." They watched as Olivia examined his collection of architectural models with careful fingers, her small face serious with concentration. "Tell me what happened," Nathaniel said quietly. "Everything." Vanessa's gaze remained on their daughter as she spoke. 9 years ago, when I discovered I was pregnant, I was terrified, but certain about one thing I needed to tell you." She described calling his firm repeatedly, being told by his assistant that he was unavailable or in meetings. How she'd finally gone to his apartment, only to be informed by the doorman that Mr. Parker had left instructions not to admit her. "I couldn't understand it," she continued. "We'd spent that entire spring together. I thought what we had was real." Nathaniel's brow furrowed. "It was real. When you stopped answering my calls, I assumed you'd chosen the art fellowship over us." "I never received any calls from you," Vanessa said, turning to face him. "Not one." A heavy silence fell between them, broken only by the soft sounds of Olivia's movements across the room. "Richard," Nathaniel finally said, the name emerging like a revelation. "My mentor, my business partner. He was handling communications while I was in Tokyo that summer, finalizing the Nakamura project." Vanessa's eyes widened. "The older man? The one who always looked at me like I was a distraction from your career?" Nathaniel nodded slowly. "He took me under his wing when I was fresh out of graduate school. Sighed I had potential, but needed focus. So he made me disappear," Vanessa whispered, The memory of those months after Vanessa left came flooding back, Richard's subtle reinforcement that she'd chosen her art over Nathaniel. The casual mentions of seeing her with other men around campus. The carefully orchestrated consolation. He manipulated both of us, Nathaniel realized, anger rising in his throat. "Mom?" Olivia approached, sensing the tension. "Are you okay?" Vanessa softened immediately, brushing a strand of hair from her daughter's forehead. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just talking about grown-up things with ... with your father." The word hung in the air, new and weighty. Nathaniel knelt to Olivia's level, noticing the slight cleft in her chin that mirrored his own. "Olivia, would you like to see something special?" he asked, surprising himself with how natural it felt to address his daughter. Her eyes lit up with curiosity. What kind of special? He led her to a room he rarely entered, his home studio. Inside, illuminated by soft track lighting, stood a miniature cityscape. Buildings of various designs interconnected by delicate bridges and green spaces. "Is my dream city," he explained. "I've been building it piece by piece for years." Olivia approached the model with reverence, her fingers hovering just above a tiny glass dome. "It's like the buildings are talking to each other," she whispered. "That's exactly what I was trying to create," Nathaniel said, amazed by her intuition. From the doorway, Vanessa watched their interaction, her heart constricting with both joy and sorrow for the years lost. Later, after Olivia had fallen asleep in the guest room, Nathaniel and Vanessa sat across from each other at the kitchen island, the emotional weight of the day evident in their postures. "You mentioned medical issues," Nathaniel prompted gently. Vanessa nodded, her fingers tracing the rim of her wine glass. "Olivia has a rare blood disorder. The specialists say she needs treatment that's still experimental. Our insurance won't cover it, and I've exhausted my savings, taken extra teaching jobs at the community college. I'll cover everything," Nathaniel said without hesitation. "Whatever she needs." Vanessa's eyes met his. "Thank you," she said simply. A moment passed between them, charged with memories and possibilities. "Where have you been living all this time?" he asked. "Portland, mainly. I finished my degree there, found work teaching art to children. It's been ... modest, but good." She paused. "Olivia deserves more than modest, though." "And you?" Nathaniel asked softly. "What do you deserve, Vanessa?" She looked up, vulnerability flashing across her features. "I stopped thinking about what I deserved a long time ago." Nathaniel moved closer, his hand hesitantly covering hers. "I never stopped thinking about you," he admitted, "even when I thought you'd chosen another life." The confession hung between them, fragile and honest. Vanessa's fingers intertwined with his, a gesture so familiar it made his chest ache. "We should be careful," she whispered, though she didn't pull away, "for Olivia's sake." But as the distance between them gradually closed, years of misunderstanding and longing culminated in a kiss that felt like coming home, tentative at first, then deepening with the recognition of what had been lost and perhaps what might still be salvaged. "Hold your arms out like wings," Nathaniel instructed, standing behind Olivia as she balanced on the low stone wall of the garden terrace. "That's it now. Look straight ahead, not down." Olivia giggled, wobbling slightly as she navigated the makeshift balance beam. 3 weeks had transformed their cautious interactions into something approaching comfort. Nathaniel had moved them into his penthouse temporarily, converting his home office into a bedroom for Olivia, filling it with books and art supplies. Vanessa emerged from inside, her hair damp from the shower. "Careful, you two," she called, but her tone was light. "Mom, look, I'm not even falling." Olivia demonstrated, taking confident steps. "I see that," Vanessa smiled, her eyes meeting Nathaniel's over their daughter's head. The warmth in that gaze made his heart quicken. Their reconnection had progressed with careful deliberation, a dance of rediscovery tempered by the awareness of Olivia, watching their every interaction. "Nathaniel's taking me to the Science Center today," Olivia announced, jumping down from the wall. She had started using his name recently, not quite ready for Dad, but acknowledging the relationship in her own way. "I thought you might like to come too," Nathaniel said to Vanessa. "There's an exhibit on light and color that made me think of your paintings." The subtle reminder that he remembered her artistic passions wasn't lost on Vanessa. "I'd love that," she replied. As they prepared to leave, Nathaniel's phone rang. Richard's name flashed on the screen. "Parker, where have you been?" Richard's voice was sharp with irritation. "The Westlake presentation is in 3 days, and you've been practically invisible." "I've been handling some personal matters," Nathaniel replied, moving away from Vanessa and Olivia. "Personal matters?" Richard scoffed. "Since when do you have personal matters that trump the biggest project of your career?" "Things change," Nathaniel said simply. "I'll be in tomorrow with the revised designs." There was a pause. "Is this about that woman who came to see you? Diane mentioned something." The subtle shift in Richard's tone raised Nathaniel's suspicions. "I need to go, Richard. We'll talk tomorrow." At the Science Center, watching Olivia press her hands against an electricity globe, her face illuminated with blue light and wonder, Nathaniel felt a profound shift in his priorities. Vanessa stood beside him, her shoulder touching his. "She's never had this before," Vanessa murmured. "A father's presence." "I've missed so much," he replied, the regret evident in his voice. Vanessa turned to face him. "We can't get those years back, Nate, but we're here now." The simplicity of her statement struck him deeply. They continued through the exhibits, Olivia running ahead, then doubling back to share discoveries, building a bridge between past and present with each excited explanation. Later that evening, after Olivia had gone to bed, Nathaniel found Vanessa on the terrace, sketching the cityscape. "You're drawing again," he observed, settling beside her. "It helps me process," she admitted. "Everything's changing so quickly." Nathaniel nodded, understanding. "I have something to show you," he said, handing her a folder. Inside were papers from his lawyer documents establishing a trust for Olivia, arrangements for her medical treatments, legal recognition of his paternity. Vanessa's fingers trembled as she reviewed them. "This is comprehensive." "I want to do this right," Nathaniel said, "for both of you." Her eyes glistened. "Nate, I didn't come back for your money." "I know that," he replied, taking her hand. "You came back because Olivia needed me. But maybe maybe I needed you too. Both of you." The admission hung in the night air between them. Vanessa set the papers aside and moved closer, her hand coming to rest against his chest. "I tried so hard to forget you," she whispered. "Did it work?" he asked, his voice rough with emotion. She shook her head, a sad smile curving her lips. "Not even close." This time when they kissed, it wasn't just memory driving them, but the present real and immediate. His hands tangled in her hair as hers traced the contours of his face, relearning each other with unhurried tenderness. They moved inside, to his bedroom, where moonlight spilled across the covers. Words gave way to touch, to the rediscovery of familiar territories now changed by time. Vanessa's body bore the subtle marks of motherhood, a softness to her hips, faint silvery lines across her abdomen that Nathaniel traced with reverent fingers. "Beautiful," he murmured against her skin, meaning it completely. Their reunion was both passionate and poignant, punctuated by moments of surprised laughter and quiet intensity. Afterward, Vanessa lay with her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "I never thought we'd find our way back here," she admitted. Nathaniel's fingers traced lazy patterns on her shoulder. "We still have a lot to figure out." "I know," she agreed. "And Richard, "I'll handle Richard," Nathaniel assured her, though uncertainty colored his tone. Neither could have known that across town, Richard Bennett was already piecing together the puzzle of Vanessa's return and plotting to ensure that history repeated itself. The Westlake presentation should have been Nathaniel's moment of triumph. Instead, he found himself distracted, his thoughts repeatedly drifting to Vanessa and Olivia, who had gone for the girl's first treatment consultation that morning. "Parker," Richard hissed during a brief recess. "Focus, you're losing them." Nathaniel straightened his tie, glancing around the boardroom at the skeptical faces of potential investors. "I've got this," he assured his partner. When he resumed, something in his approach shifted. Rather than focusing solely on profit margins and efficiency, he began speaking about community impact, sustainable design, spaces that fostered human connection. "This isn't just a building," he concluded. "It's a testament to what matters, creating places where people can thrive, where families can grow roots." To Richard's evident surprise, the investors responded enthusiastically. As handshakes and congratulations circulated, Nathaniel felt his phone vibrate with a message from Vanessa. Great news from the doctor. "Celebrating with ice cream. Join us?" The simple invitation filled him with inexplicable joy. He texted back a quick affirmative, then looked up to find Richard watching him, expression unreadable. "So," Richard said, approaching once the clients had departed, "you've reconnected with your past." Nathaniel's guard immediately rose. "What do you mean?" "Don't play naive, Nate. It doesn't suit you." Richard's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Vanessa Reed is back, and with a child, I hear. How convenient for her, now that you're successful." "Be careful, Richard," Nathaniel warned, his voice low. "I'm looking out for you, just as I always have," Richard replied smoothly. "Remember what happened last time she was in your life? You nearly threw away everything we'd built. What exactly did you do?" Nathaniel demanded, suspicions crystallizing into certainty. Richard's expression hardened. "I protected your future hour." "Future. She was a distraction. A pretty art student with no understanding of your potential." "You had no right." Nathaniel's voice shook with controlled anger. "I had every right," Richard countered. "I invested in you, molded you. Without my guidance, you'd be designing strip malls in suburbia." "You intercepted her calls, returned her letters," Nathaniel realized aloud. "You kept me from knowing about my own child." Richard's dismissive shrug confirmed everything. "A child would have anchored you to mediocrity. I did what was necessary." The betrayal cut deep, decades of mentorship revealed as manipulation. Nathaniel gathered his documents with deliberate calm. "We're done, Richard," he stated flatly. "I'll be dissolving our partnership." Richard's expression darkened. "Don't be hasty. I still have influence in this city, connections you need. Are you threatening me?" Nathaniel asked, incredulous. "I'm reminding you where your loyalties should lie," Richard replied. "That woman will drain you, emotionally, financially. And that child, do you even know for certain it's yours?" Nathaniel's control snapped. He seized Richard by the lapels, backing him against the wall. "Her name is Olivia," he growled, "and she is unquestionably my daughter." Richard's shock at the physical confrontation quickly morphed into calculation. "You've changed," he observed, straightening his jacket after. Nathaniel released him. "Not for the better." "You're wrong," Nathaniel countered. "For the first time in years, I'm becoming who I should have been all along." He left Richard standing in the conference room, a sense of liberation mingling with apprehension. The man had been his mentor, his partner, his surrogate father figure. Cutting those ties wouldn't be without consequences. At the ice cream parlor, Olivia's face lit up when she spotted him. "Nathaniel, the doctor said I'm a perfect candidate for the treatment." He swept her into a hug, savoring the feeling of her small arms around his neck. Over Olivia's head, he met Vanessa's gaze. communicating silently that they needed to talk. Later, after Olivia had gone to bed exhausted but happy, Nathaniel recounted his confrontation with Richard. "He's dangerous, Nate," Vanessa warned, pacing. "The living room. If he separated us once—" "It's different now," Nathaniel assured her. "I'm not that ambitious young architect anymore. I know what matters." Vanessa's expression remained troubled. "People like Richard don't just accept defeat. He's invested too much in controlling your life." As if summoned by her words, Nathaniel's phone rang. An unfamiliar number flashed on the screen. "Mr. Parker?" A clinical voice inquired when he answered. "This is Westside Medical Center. There's been an issue with the insurance approval for Olivia Reed's treatment protocol." Nathaniel's blood ran cold. "What kind of issue?" "I personally guaranteed the payment." "Yes, but we've received notification of a potential fraud investigation regarding the application. Everything's on hold until it's resolved." After ending the call, Nathaniel relayed the development to Vanessa, whose face drained of color. "It's him," she whispered. "He's already moving against us." Nathaniel took her trembling hands in his. "Listen to me. We're going to fight this together. Richard underestimates what I'm willing to do for my family." The word family hung between them, powerful and affirming. Vanessa stepped into his embrace, her body fitting against his as perfectly as it always had. "I'm scared," she admitted against his chest. "Not just for Olivia's treatment, but for what he might do next." Nathaniel held her tighter. "Tomorrow, we go on the offensive. A tonight, ... double quotes." He tilted her face up to his. "Tonight, let's just be here, together. Let's not give him the power to steal one more moment from us." Their kiss sealed the promise, a declaration of unity against the storm gathering around them. The law offices of Hamilton and Associates occupied the 23rd floor of a gleaming downtown tower. Vanessa squeezed Nathaniel's hand as the elevator ascended, her other hand resting protectively on Olivia's shoulder. "Are you sure about this?" she asked quietly. Nathaniel nodded, his expression resolute. "Absolutely." The last 3 weeks had been a whirlwind of legal maneuvers and countermoves. Richard had escalated his efforts to separate them, freezing Nathaniel out of key projects, spreading rumors among clients, and most alarmingly, filing a report with Child Protective Services alleging Vanessa was an unfit mother who had hidden Olivia for financial gain. Today, they would end the siege. Eleanor Hamilton greeted them with professional warmth, ushering them into a conference room where, to Vanessa's surprise, several familiar faces waited: her former art professor, the pediatrician who had treated Olivia since infancy, even her elderly neighbor from Portland, who had often watched Olivia after school. "What is this?" Vanessa whispered to Nathaniel. "Character witnesses," he explained. "People who know the truth about you as a mother, about our situation." The door opened again, and Richard entered, flanked by his own attorney. His confident stride faltered slightly at the sight of the assembled group. "Richard," Nathaniel acknowledged coolly. "This is unnecessary, Nathaniel," Richard replied, taking a seat across from them. "We could have resolved this privately." "Like you resolved keeping Vanessa's pregnancy from me?" Nathaniel countered. "Or like you're resolving Olivia's medical treatment by blocking it?" Eleanor stepped forward, placing a folder before Richard. "Mr. Bennett, we've compiled comprehensive documentation of your interference in my clients' lives, both past and present. This includes testimony from your former assistant confirming you intercepted Ms. Reed's communications, banking records showing the origin of anonymous payments to discourage her from contacting Mr. Parker, and most recently, evidence of your fraudulent claims to medical and child welfare authorities." Richard's face remained impassive, but a muscle twitched in his jaw. "Circumstantial at best," his attorney interjected. "Perhaps," Eleanor conceded, "but sufficient to launch investigations that would be uncomfortable for someone of Mr. Bennett's standing." particularly the financial improprieties we've uncovered in the firm's accounting. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across Richard's features. What do you want? A clean break, Nathaniel stated. You buy out my share of the partnership at fair market value. You withdraw all allegations against Vanessa and cease any interference with Olivia's medical care. In return, we don't pursue legal action for your past behavior. Richard's gaze shifted to Olivia, who had been quietly drawing throughout the exchange. Her resemblance to Nathaniel was undeniable, from the thoughtful furrow of her brow to the determined set of her jaw as she concentrated. Something in the man's expression shifted, a grudging recognition, perhaps, of the futility of his position. You're making a mistake, Richard said finally, but the fight had gone out of his voice. You were destined for greatness. Nathaniel smiled, glancing at Vanessa and Olivia. I think I've found something better than greatness. The settlement was signed by afternoon. As they left the building, Olivia skipping ahead, Vanessa turned to Nathaniel. I can't believe it's over, she said. Just like that. Not over, Nathaniel corrected gently. Just beginning. That evening, they celebrated with a picnic on the terrace. Olivia, energized by the resolution of tensions she'd sensed but hadn't fully understood, chattered about her upcoming treatment and her new school. And then, she announced between bites of sandwich, we can go see the house Nathaniel designed for us. Vanessa raised an eyebrow at Nathaniel, who suddenly looked sheepish. It was supposed to be a surprise, he explained. A place with a garden for you to paint in, and a treehouse for Olivia. You designed us a house? Vanessa asked, her voice catching. Nathaniel reached into his pocket and withdrew a small velvet box. I designed a home, he corrected, opening the box to reveal a ring not ostentatious, but elegant, a sapphire surrounded by smaller diamonds. For all of us if you want it. Olivia gasped, her eyes wide with delight. Vanessa stared at the ring, then at Nathaniel, tears spilling onto her cheeks. 9 years ago, Nathaniel continued, someone else decided our future for us. I don't want to waste another day living someone else's version of my life. Are you going to be my dad for real now? Olivia interrupted, practically bouncing with excitement. Nathaniel laughed, his own eyes suspiciously bright. That's up to your mom, sweetheart. Vanessa looked between them, her daughter, vibrant and full of possibility, and this man who had found his way back to them against all odds. Yes, she said simply, the word encompassing everything. Yes to the ring, to the house, to the future they would build together. As Nathaniel slipped the ring onto her finger, Olivia wrapped her arms around both of them, creating a circle that felt both new and somehow ancient, as if this moment had been waiting for them all along. Later, with Olivia asleep and the city lights twinkling below, Nathaniel and Vanessa stood wrapped in each other's arms on the terrace. Do you think it's too soon? He asked, his chin resting on the top of her head. Vanessa smiled against his chest. I think we've waited 9 years too long. We have a lot to figure out still, he acknowledged. We'll figure it out together, she replied, one day at a time. The promise of those days stretched before them ordinary mornings and bedtime stories. First days of school and holiday traditions yet to be established. Not the life either had imagined in their youth, but something richer, tempered by loss and discovery. Nathaniel turned Vanessa to face him, cradling her face in his hands. I love you, he said, the words both a declaration and a vow. I never stopped. I love you too, she whispered back, enough to start again. Their kiss sealed the promise, not an ending, but a continuation, the next chapter in a story that had been temporarily interrupted, but never truly concluded. Above them, stars wheeled, in their ancient patterns, witnessing the rare and precious miracle of a family finding its way home.